Hello geeks and ghouls. Quite some time ago I did a video about the 5 horror tropes I don't particularly like, and I think it's time I'm doing a video about 5 horror tropes, 5 plus 1 tropes I do enjoy. So stay tuned. Well, let's begin. And I should begin with the one trope that made me a horror fan to begin with, and this is Elder Gods, because I started reading horror after reading some Lovecraft, and the concept of Elder Gods, of alien beings who have nothing in common with mankind, that follow their own rules and they view us as food or ants, or they're not even aware of us, always scares me. It always gets me. Lovecraft is the one author that manages to really make me feel the chills, those sweet chills we all crave while reading horror, and this has a lot to do with his worldview of Elder Gods and how incomprehensible they are, because deep down what I want to know is that we can understand anything, so the idea that something is incomprehensible really scares me. And yes, I'm going to explain why each of these tropes scare me. So that's a bonus for you. And we go to trope number 2 I do enjoy, and this is sex and death. Eros and Thanatos, as we Greeks used to say. And this is... I don't particularly enjoy sexual violence, to tell you, despite all those layman books in the back may suggest. It's something that doesn't work for me that much, but I really do enjoy sensual violence, or how sex and death can often be merged together, and one being the outcome of the other. That's something I really enjoy in Clive Barker books, or in Jack Ketchum really does that with violence and death along with some perversion. And I know it's already in the... yes, it's a horror video, so it may trigger you. Alright, said the conscious horror guy right after triggering everybody. But what really gets me in this is that sex is the ultimate intimacy. So the fact that you are very intimate and something threatens you at your point, you're most vulnerable, you're most intimate with somebody else, really is what I enjoy with this trope, and I definitely like to see more of it, more erotic horror, with emphasis on the horror. And as I said, Clive Barker is the man who does that amazingly well. I mean, all of his works have a lot to do with Eros and Thanatos, this binary. And we go to trope number 3, what I'll call the devil is wearing a familiar face. And this is when the monster assumes the form of a loved one. And as examples of these, I'll give you a little known movie known as Black Sabbath by Mario Bava. It is sort of related with the band, because the band took their name from this movie. It's a 1964 movie, and it's an anthology of 3 stories. The middle story is called The Voodoo Luck, and there is this amazing scene where a mother sees her son calling for her, only the son is already a vampire. This scene was really scary for me when I watched it. The entire movie is amazing. You should definitely go find it and watch it. It's amazingly horrifying for its era. Also, we see this trope again with vampires in Stephen King's Salem's Lot, or Dracula with Lucy, but not so much. Lucy is already long gone, but the point she comes out as a vampire. And also in the Evil Dead series, where it's mostly horror comedy, yes, but the Deadites often assume the face of the unpossessed person. It's a very familiar trope with the undead or the possessed, and I just like it for the same reason. It's betrayal. You trust somebody, you love somebody, and they won't do you harm. It's scary to think about it. And we go to trope number 4, and this trope is monster have their rules. I mean, you'll know this part in every horror movie or horror book when somebody is researching the folklore, is coming up with a thing that can repel the monster or keep the monster at bay or defeat the monster if you do 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really love this trope. It's getting out of fashion in a way, especially after the 80s splatterpunk genre, when this oral set is eschewed away in favor of blood and gore and making everything unpredictable. But I really love monster having their rules because it sets you up in a playing field in a way. It gives your main characters a way to defeat the monster, and it builds tension if it's done correctly. And I definitely like rules. And what horror sequels in movies tend to do is that after a while they jump the shark and stop following their own rules. And that's really bad. I mean, I really like the Xenobots because they have rules. They only appear if you solve the Lamont configuration. Freddy can only get you in your sleep, so you have to stay awake. Vampires are vampires. You have to shoot a werewolf with a silver bullet. That's amazing. That's something that's a classic, and you can do a lot of interesting stuff with this trope if you really want to do that. And I really want to see more monsters following rules because it gives a way out, gives you hope that the main character can defeat the monster realistically, and when they do, it feels great. Who said I'm only for the horrifying stuff? I may be an unrealistic geek, but you know, I really want to have hopes before they're dust away in a turn of luck. Trope number 5, the devil whispers in your ear. And this is like, it's a trope I don't see very often, but it's really interesting when a character is listening to temptation to a darker side, the dark urges, and they fight not to give in. I'm not seeing this part very much in most horror ever. I cannot recall any good example of horror doing that, but I definitely like the Dresden Files series, which is urban fantasy, and it's doing that a lot. I like corruption arcs a lot, and the main character trying not to fall into corruption or falling a bit into corruption and not always understanding that really gets me. And I want to write more about the monster, the evil, the demon, whatever it is, the main character's dark side even, whisper to them and give them bad advice. And I like when main characters or antagonists listen to these voices and they give in to these voices, they do what they do. It really scares me, this idea that you're not in full control of yourself and you give in to the dark side. I really like it, but it's a trope I don't often see in horror, unfortunately. And if you have any examples of this done well in horror, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment below with it. And finally, my last one, a trope, because to be honest, it's not that much of a horror trope. It's something I do enjoy reading, is the trope of a society of evil. What I mean by that, I mean a society, a social environment that really gives its members, or some of its members, an excuse to do harm, to act like monsters, to be evil. And a good example of that is The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, where we have parent figure, parents giving their children some very bad advice and letting them do some awful stuff, and because an elder person is doing that, this is giving them an excuse to do what they're doing. And that's really what scares me about this trope. This really is something I enjoy in fantasy. I mean, in Malazan Book of the Fallen, which is right there, I really enjoy how we see some evil empires, some evil societies, and how they affect their members and make them worse. And this is something I'm really interested in, because again, it's not about individual choice anymore, it's about something above. giving you directive to do harm to others, and this is always scary. And I don't often say horror. I mean, we have The Girl Next Door, we have Last Days by Brian Evanson, which was one of the sickest books I've read last year, and the whole idea of cults, of bad parenting and all this stuff are great examples of this trope, and it's a trope I do enjoy. So do you enjoy any of these tropes, or do you hate it? I'd love to hear your opinions. I'd love to hear some of your favorite or least favorite horror tropes too. Don't be afraid to leave a comment below. If you got to this far into the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.